a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Beto O'Rourke. Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke is an American politician and businessman serving as the U.S. Representative from Texas' 16th Congressional District in his native El Paso, elected in 2012. He is the Democratic nominee in the 2018 Texas Senate race, challenging Republican incumbent Ted Cruz. O'Rourke won the general election held in November 2012, defeating U.S. Representative Silvestre Reyes in the Democratic primary earlier that year. The district includes most of El Paso County. Prior to his election to Congress, O'Rourke was on the El Paso City Council from June 2005 to June 2011. On March 31, 2017, O'Rourke announced his candidacy for the U.S. Senate seat held by Republican incumbent Ted Cruz in the 2018 election. Early life, education, and music career. O'Rourke is a fourth-generation Irish-American, born in El Paso, the son of Melissa Martha and El Paso County Judge Pat Francis O'Rourke. He was nicknamed Beto, which is a common Spanish nickname for Roberto. Before kindergarten, his father was a political associate to former Texas Governor Mark White. Judge O'Rourke was killed in July 2001, at the age of 58, when he was struck from behind by a car while riding his bicycle over the New Mexico state line. O'Rourke attended Carlos Rivera and Mesito Elementary Schools and El Paso High School. He graduated from Woodbury Forest School in 1991. In the early 1990s, he was a bassist in the band Foss, which included Cedric Bixler Zavala on vocals and drums, Arla Clark on vocals and guitar, and Mike Stevens on vocals and guitar. The group released a self-titled demo and a 7 record, The El Paso Pussycats, on Western Breed Records in 1993. They released a subsequent album, Fuel Street, in 1994, also on Western. Foss toured the United States and Canada in the summer of 1993 and again, along with Bixler's concurrent band, Lost Regtones, in the summer of 1994. O'Rourke attended Columbia University in New York where he captained Columbia's rowing crew. He graduated from Columbia in 1995 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in English Literature. He was arrested in 1995 on burglary charges after he tripped an alarm while jumping a fence at the University of Texas El Paso, but prosecutors declined the case. He said he received deferred adjudication 15 years ago on the drunken driving arrest and was not convicted. He called the incident a mistake. He is fluent in Spanish. Business career 1995-2005. Following college, O'Rourke worked at internet service providers in New York City before his return to El Paso in 1998. The following year, he co-founded Stanton Street Technology, an internet services and software company that develops websites and software. His wife, Amy, operates the business as of March 2017. Elections. In mid-2005, O'Rourke ran for the El Paso City Council and defeated two-term incumbent City Councilman Anthony Cobos, 57%-43%. O'Rourke is one of the youngest representatives to have ever served on the City Council. In 2007, he won re-election to a second term, defeating Trini Acevedo, 70%-30%. Ethics complaint. On September 5, 2006, the land grab opponents of El Paso filed an ethics complaint with the city of El Paso, citing the business relationship between O'Rourke and the Paso del Norte group, developers who had proposed a downtown revitalization plan for El Paso. O'Rourke's own company, Stanton Street Technology Group, was providing internet and information technology services to Paso del Norte. O'Rourke's father-in-law, William Sanders, was a leader in the Paso del Norte group. The complaint said, O'Rourke is impermissibly entangled in the Paso del Norte group's downtown revitalization plan, through both family and business ties. The complaint raised objections to 2 votes by O'Rourke, one to extend Paso del Norte's contract with the city in 2005 and another to accept the group's redevelopment proposal in March. It alleged that O'Rourke's participation in these votes violated his fiduciary duty to the citizens of El Paso. The city's Ethics Review Commission summarily dismissed this complaint on October 12, 2006. The land grab opponents filed a second complaint that suggested that the CFO of Sanders' company, the Verd Group, prepared O'Rourke's income tax return in 2006. This complaint was dismissed on October 18, 2006. An attorney for the land grab opponents said the ethics complaints were filed to make O'Rourke recuse himself from debating and voting on the plan. O'Rourke abstained from voting when the council considered establishing a downtown tax increment reinvestment zone. War on drugs. In January 2009, O'Rourke sponsored a resolution calling for a comprehensive examination of the war on drugs and the repeal of ineffective marijuana laws. The resolution, which was unanimously supported by his colleagues on the El Paso City Council, was vetoed by then-Mayor John Cook and spurred a larger national discussion on the topic. He told reporters that the reason he decided to speak up about what he called the failed war on drugs was the thousands of people who have been killed in the drug war in the adjoining city of Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico. I hope it has all had its intended effect of starting the national discussion of the wisdom of the war on drugs, and probably more importantly, helping to bring about a better solution than the status quo, which has led to the terror and tragedy in Juarez. Elections. 2012. In 2012, O'Rourke filed for the Democratic primary against the eight-term Silvestre Reyes to represent Texas' 16th congressional district. The primary was seen as the real contest in this heavily Democratic, majority Latino district. O'Rourke took 50.5% of the vote, just a few hundred votes above the threshold required to avoid a runoff against Reyes. He was contrasted with Reyes in his support for LGBT rights and drug liberalization. He defeated his Republican opponent, Barbara Carrasco, in the general election with 65% of the vote. 2014 O'Rourke won re-election in 2014 with 67% of the vote. During the fall of 2014, O'Rourke donated at least $28,000 from his own campaign funds to fellow Democratic candidates for House seats. 2016 In October 2015, O'Rourke announced his bid for a third term in 2016. He won the Democratic primary and defeated his Green and Libertarian opponents in the general election. 2018 On March 31, 2017, O'Rourke formally announced his candidacy for the United States Senate seat held by incumbent Republican Party member Ted Cruz. Thereafter, O'Rourke raised $2 million within the first 3 months, mostly from small donations. Committee assignments. Caucus memberships. In 2013, O'Rourke attempted to join the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, a 26-member group established in 1976 that includes as its goals voicing and advancing, through the legislative process, issues affecting Hispanics in the United States, Puerto Rico and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. He was denied membership due to lacking Hispanic heritage. His congressional predecessor, Silvestre Reyes, was a member and also appointed as a chair for 2 years. 2018 Senate campaign. When asked by the Texas Tribune if he might run for the Senate in 2018 against Cruz or in 2020 against Republican John Cornyn, O'Rourke first said that he is considering a Senate race. He is likely to have the services of Christian Archer, a veteran political operative from San Antonio, who prior to 2013 was active in campaigns of former Mayor Julian Castro, later the Secretary of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, and U.S. Representative Joaquin Castro of Texas' 20th Congressional District, twin brothers and popular San Antonio area Democratic politicians. Archer terms O'Rourke Kennedy-esque. He's got this aura around him. It's neat, because he can talk about anything. On March 31, 2017, after crisscrossing the state to gauge interest, O'Rourke announced that he would be running in 2018 in an effort to unseat Cruz. He was the first Democratic candidate to enter the race. He became the Democratic Party nominee, winning 61.8% of the primary vote. Drug policy. O'Rourke is a fierce opponent of the war on drugs and has called for ending it. As part of his opposition to the war on drugs, O'Rourke favors the legalization of cannabis on grounds that the war against narcotics cannot be won. In 2011 O'Rourke co-authored a book, Dealing Death and Drugs, The Big Business of Dope in the US and Mexico, which in part argues for an end to the prohibition on marijuana. On January 5, 2018, O'Rourke posted a video on Facebook blasting Attorney General Jeff Sessions' rescinding of the Cole Memorandum on January 4. Abortion. O'Rourke has a lifetime score of 100% from the Planned Parenthood Action Fund and a rating of 100% from NAAL Pro-Choice America. He voted against the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion and Abortion Insurance Full Disclosure Act of 2017, which made a permanent prohibition on the use of federal funds for abortions and made reforms to the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act to prohibit qualified health plans from including coverage for abortions. LGBT rights. O'Rourke told the Dallas Voice that he called marriage equality a core civil rights issue during his House primary campaign. While on the El Paso City Council, O'Rourke led a successful fight to overturn the domestic partnership ban. He was a co-sponsor of the Domestic Partnership Benefits and Obligations Act of 2013. Immigration. O'Rourke favors comprehensive immigration reform. O'Rourke opposed Trump's decision to end deferred action for childhood arrivals, which granted temporary stay to some undocumented immigrants who were brought to the United States as minors. O'Rourke said it is a top priority to protect these so-called dreamers. He has criticized President Donald Trump's rhetoric on immigration, saying that Trump is constantly stoking anxiety and fear about Mexicans, immigrants and the border with Mexico. Unfortunately, this president takes another step into a dark world of fear, isolation and separation. Ted Cruz asserted in 2018 that O'Rourke wanted open borders and wants to take our guns. PolitiFact found that Cruz's claims were false, noting that O'Rourke had not called for opening the borders or for government agents to take guns from law-abiding residents. Healthcare. O'Rourke has expressed support for single-payer legislation to achieve universal health coverage. He supports stabilization of the insurance markets to improve the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. He also supports the expansion of Medicaid and is a co-sponsor of the Medicare Choice Act of 2017. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?